past is important, but we know for relationships, we want to move forward in the now.
Mhm.
We want to
Yes.
have a future together too. So we can explore the past. Yeah, this is probably why you are from a lens of the Enneagram or another tool. But Enneagram also gives you the sense of here's my gift today, here's my shadow today, and here's what I need to do tomorrow in order to have a healthier version of myself.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life and marriage? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. So, on this show, we're all about getting to know ourselves better because we need to start there to even create a limitless potential of growth and success and joy and contentment in your life as an individual, as a partner, as a mom, as every role that you play. And so you've heard me talk about human design. You've heard me talk about, so many different kinds of things. I can't even think of it right now. But what we haven't touched on is something that has become very popular over the last, 5-ish, plus or minus however many years. It's the Enneagram. And I'm so shocked that I haven't covered this yet because I am fascinated by this. And so I knew when I met Christa that I had to have her on the show because she's an expert in the Enneagram. She has a book out. She's writing a second book. And guess what? Bonus. She also works with couples to use Enneagram to strengthen your marriage. So it's like, oh my gosh, this is like the perfect combination, the perfect guest for this show. So Christa, I am so thrilled to welcome you to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Can you please share with the listeners where you live, how old your kids are, and what led you down this path of wanting to specialize in the Enneagram and mirroring it with, pun intended, marriage?
I love that, Michelle. Thank you so much. You're getting me all revved up about my favorite topics. Yes, married together, Enneagram and marriage. And I started to do this after I moved to my current location. I've been a couples helper for about 20 years, a little bit more than that now. And I started with marriage and family therapy. I moved into becoming a clinical assessor for psychological issues for a while. And then I did a lot of psychological batteries in that moment of my life. And I had little kids, and we'll talk more about my kids in a sec. But I ended up realizing, man, people have to do a lot of batteries just for me to get a good, realistic picture of them. And about a year after I moved to my current location near Tampa, Florida, a good friend of mine was visiting Marco Island, a therapist, and she goes, "Have you heard of the Enneagram?" And I was like, I took it once, probably a lot of your listeners, you take it and you kind of move on. And she's like, "I think you need to give it a second look." Now, if anyone is familiar with Enneagram, and we'll get into the types, but she's a type 4, very deep diver, which is why I've always respected her therapy. And I'm like, I had met her in grad school, and I'm like, okay, I'm going back. And I have never looked away ever since then, Michelle, because it really helped with all those assessments. It gave us a clean, elegant system, numbers 1 through 9. And we'll talk about that too. But it was like, oh, okay, you're a type 1, you do this, and this is why. And it just got so much more helpful than all these other tools that are still helpful, but not quite as helpful to my work with couples. Whereas we all know you could have one couple session and that be the only time you see somebody if you miss who they are at the heart. So it's just important to have a good read on people. It's a great tool to do so. And I live with my husband, Wes, my daughter, Hannah, my daughter Melody, and my son Jack. They are 19, 17, and 13. And so I'm sending two of them off to college campuses in between work today. Just gave one a big hug. I homeschool one in the afternoons. So we have a busy life here, but we love it and we're thankful.
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. I mean, truly, when you find that tool that you resonate with, that you think is going to make all the impact and help people understand the heart of how they work, how their partner works, it's just like it makes so much more sense. It's like that light bulb moment that like it goes off and you're like, oh my gosh, it's clicking now. I understand why you do that. And it's not because you're trying to hurt me.
Right.
It's because of this and because of that. Oh, okay. Let me like pump the brakes here and not take everything so personally. Listeners, I know you're like, oh my gosh, please talk about marriage. And I promise you we will. But before we do, we're going to lay down the foundation of what the Enneagram is, all 9 types. And then we're going to tackle the marriage subject on a different episode. And I promise you it will be soon. Okay. But for those who are new to Enneagram, I don't want to just be like, hey, let's toss all these terms and you have no idea what we're talking about. So we're going to lay the foundation down. So Christa, can you share with us what is the Enneagram?
Ooh, yes, this is so important for people to grasp because we've been talking around that a little bit today. And to put that leg on it for you, just like I needed, it is a personality system that has 9 different personality types that are all interconnected. And rather than just focusing on behaviors of people, which we all know per mood, per day of the week, per time of the month can vary widely, it emphasizes on a core fear and a core gift, core motivations, so that we learn the why behind what we do and not just the behaviors of what you can see on the outside on certain days, which we said already varies. So it's a neat tool to dig a little deeper and to really help you, your family, your friends discover, oh, this is at the heart of this person's desires. This is the core of who they are. And that's just such a gift to all relationships, right?
Oh, 100%. I know that, we can all do the same things, especially in conflict. But like you said, just because the behaviors are similar, it doesn't mean that we're all the same. We can all have a different motivation. Like I could be trying to keep myself safe. The other person could be trying to manipulate the situation. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of different motivations that under the surface is only then like how you can figure that out. But until you get to that point where you go deeper and figure out, oh, why am I doing this at its core? Not just what might seem obvious from the outside perspective, but what's really deep in there. Then we could start to understand and even display compassion for yourself and for the other, because that's really what matters. It's like, why are you doing this? Not just, why did you do this?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So important because yes, past is important, but we know for relationships, we want to move forward in the now.
Mm-hmm.
We want to
Yes.
have a future together too. So we can explore the past. Yeah, this is probably why you are from a lens of the Enneagram or another tool. But Enneagram also gives you the sense of here's my gift today, here's my shadow today, and here's what I need to do tomorrow in order to have a healthier version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go through the 9 types, we can even have you already be doing some self check-ins about whether you are in a healthy place within your type. Does that sound good?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's incredible. I know that just over the past several years, as I've become more and more self-aware, that I know when I do these things, it's because I'm coming out of health. And it kind of triggers me, like it waves a flag, like, oh, hey, take care of yourself. You're slipping into that version of yourself that you don't like. So then it's like a wake-up call. So I'm excited to dive into this. Okay, so let's start in numerical order. So let's talk about the 1. What's the 1 like?
Oh, I know this one well. That's my hubby. So ones are perfectionistic. They're reformers. They want to do the good and right thing at the core. That's their motivation in life. And when they're kids, it's I want to be the good boy and the good girl. And there's a lot of, as you can imagine, there's a lot of good to that. Like when you are the good boy or the good girl, you get a lot in life, and your teachers and your parents love you. In fact, when I met my husband, we've been together almost 30 years total now. He was in some of my classes and he was the teacher's pet. And he was the captain of the football team and he was all things to all people. And I was like, who is this guy who has it all together? But their fear that they're dancing away from is I'm corrupt, I'm defective, I'm not good, I'm wrong. And it makes apologizing very hard because if they do, they're like, then I had to admit I was bad. And so they really can move around in these stress and security points that we call arrows in the Enneagram world. I don't want to confuse anybody, but just suffice it to say that sometimes in a relationship, when a one isn't quite as healthy, they can do this negative self criticism to themselves or to their partner or family. It depends on the type of one they are, if they're more social, if they're more one to one or sexual, or if they're more self preserving. But either way, there's this perfectionism that's leaning in or out, and it's quite heavy. So it's important, if you're a one listening out there and you're like, oh, that's me, I'm a perfectionist, that you allow yourself some body work, some ways to connect somatically with yourself and say, okay, I am stressed. I am getting really nitpicky and perfectionistic, and I need to allow myself some time to chill and to have some fun and to get a little bit messy because I don't have to be perfect all the time.
Oh, that's a very stretchy thing for them, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so 2, that's me.
Yay.
But I'm excited to hear your interpretation of what a 2 is like.
Oh my goodness. I love twos. I think I mentioned this when we were chatting just over our Zoom coffee, but I love my twos so much that my local best friend and my best friend up north from the Midwest are both twos, and we talk all the time. So twos are the befrienders, literally. They are the helpers, the givers. Sometimes people just prefer the numbers because they're like, I don't like my title, but like, just think of your two friends, or if this is you, like a person who loves to give. Their core motivation is to be loved and needed. And then the core fear would be, oh no, I'm not loved. I'm unwanted or rejected, worse yet. And so in the stress area, they could become more demanding. But when they're healthy, they can become more emotionally honest. And in relationships, they can tend towards focusing on the partner's needs because they're such a giver, and then even sometimes neglect their own. But what I've loved watching, and maybe you feel this too, Michelle, but with my two besties, like just watching them get empowered over the years I've known them and even articulate what they want, sharing their music with me, their books, their feelings about their marriages. It is beautiful because this warm and supportive person also becomes strong versus resentful, unappreciated, manipulative. So they need that direct expression of self-care, of love, and just asking for what they need outright. Is that your experience?
Oh, 100%. I came from that camp of like, okay, I have to do everything for everyone and not leave any room for myself. But then I get upset that I overcommitted and I take it out on my family or my husband, and I get like very critical or naggy. And it's just like, I become this other version of myself that's not warm and fuzzy, that's not nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
And the vibe of the home is just very like dense and heavy and icky feeling. But then once I realized the impact that having regular self-care practices in place made on me, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a completely different person. So now I protect that time. I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. So if that means I'm going to eat breakfast in the car in the parking lot before I go on a walk, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get it done because I know what will happen if I don't do this. And I've been a lot better about saying no to things, giving my life more space, right? Like I think just yesterday, the swim school for my son offered a makeup lesson. They're like, we have an opening on Saturday, and they're trying to do something nice for me because there was an incident where he actually got injured. But I was like, oh, that's actually my son's birthday party day. And old me would have been like, oh, it's in the morning. His birthday's not till noon. Let's do it. But then what would have happened? I would have felt stressed and rushed, and I would have taken it out on my son and like made him hurry so that we can get back home and continue to get ready and make sure. And this time I was like, that time's not going to work out because I know that we're going to want some space to like ease into the party. So we're just not going to do that. We're going to have to find a different time. And it's moments like that where I'm like, oh, pat on the back, Michelle, like you've grown so much. And it feels so much better to verbalize and advocate what I need.
I love that you're doing it though. Like you said, it's taking effort, it's taking intention, time. You're worth that. And somehow in these years, you've learned that you're worth it, even if, like a lot of our twos and even our ones that we just covered, these are compliant types. There's 3 compliant types. We'll talk about one of the others of them later, but it's like these compliant types have been trained to be that good person and to forget themselves. And it's really important that we recognize that in almost all value systems, and at least the healthy ones, there's a sense of doing unto others as you would do unto yourself. And that helps people to remember I have to treat myself well if I even have anything to treat others well. And I'm going to be running ragged and resentful. And I love how you describe that heavy air in the home that can happen if you're not. And so just really great decision making on your part to say we are allowed margin and we don't have to people please. That's a lifelong lesson for us as women also.
Oh, 100%. And I am constantly saying to my clients, like, hey, if your husband or your wife matters and your kids can matter, why can't you also matter? Like you're also part of the family. So you matter just as much as any of them. So even if you pour an ounce of what you give to them, that is still like something. Let's start with that. And I really had to take that to heart because it really does make a difference. When we feel full, we will have so much more to give back to our families.
So well said. I love that.
Okay, so let's move on to number 3.
Okay, so our 3s, I was just interviewing a very well-known 3 from the Paired app today on my pod. And what's so interesting is that 3s are out there. So I wasn't at all surprised that she was a 3 because 3s are achievers and performers. So when I tested her, of course, I was like, okay, not a surprise because people that are 3s like to be out in the world doing big things. And so she's got the #1 couples app. And it's that kind of work that you'll see a 3 doing. And when I say work, they're usually working outside of the home. And it doesn't mean occasionally you won't find one who's doing work from in the home, but work really identifies with 3 so much because when we think of achieving and performing, we're doing that. I do have a friend who is a 3 mom because this is a mom show, and she is like a professional mom. All of her kids are in like the top everything. And then she also posts everything of them very regularly. And she makes the most delicious foods that are shared regularly. She's the best daughter-in-law and just puts all the rest of us to shame, basically. But 3s are out there to be glorious, to shine. And that's what they do. Now, as you can imagine, the more motivation for them is to be valued. And unfortunately, sometimes they want to be valued for the doing. And we say, 3s, you need to be a human being, not just human doing, and slow down, identify your feelings if you're a 3. But the core fear, so scary, is what if I don't have worth unless I'm working? What if I don't have value unless I'm the best? So if they're at their worst, they can just kind of go, forget it, all of it. I'm tired. I'm going into sloth. When they're at their best, they can become more loyal, committed, loving, and not just to the crowd, but to their partner, which we'll talk more about on the marriage episode. But in their relationship, they can struggle with vulnerability, with authenticity, because it's hard for a performer to admit, I don't know something, or to stop wearing the mask, to take the mask off. Sometimes they don't even know who they are at the end of the day. And you'll see them doing a lot of dancing and showing who they are in a glam way. But at home, it's like, oh, I've been deceitful about what that really looks like. And so the healthier they are, the more they're authentic. And I know another one, I was on her podcast. She's a leader in the bigger world of celebrity, Zuri Hall. And you might have seen her on American Ninja Warrior or on various Emmy hosting. And she is always dressed to the nines. And she knows she's a 3. That's why she had me on her podcast. But it was a matter of, every time I see her, I'm like, wow, you're so phenomenal. But she's like, you don't see me at home. I chill out a lot differently. So it's good for our 3s to know, like, I know you're big out there, but it's okay to be real and authentic at home. Does that make sense?
Ooh, I love that. My daughter's a 3, like through and through.
Wow.
She's like definitely born a performer. She's always like, watch me do this. And she's always striving. She's in dance class and she's always striving to like get that choreo down. She's only 5. Okay. Like she's
Amazing.
constantly singing and like doing like shows for us. Like, oh, record me. Can I watch it back? And then she'll do it again. And she's like, oh, I didn't get that right. And it doesn't matter who you are. If we're just walking, like, hey, can I show you my dance? It's like, okay, you love to be seen for your efforts. And so knowing that this is her, it's important for me as a 2 mom to be like, okay, I also need to praise her for her characteristics, not just the output, right? Not just great performance. You did that perfectly. It's more like, hey, that was a really great effort. I saw how much you practiced and I see that you really enjoy doing this and it makes me happy that you're enjoying it, and to not push for perfection because she's already doing it to herself.
Beautifully said. Could not emphasize how important that is. And if you do it well, they'll get it. And even though you're
Yeah.
like, of course, I want her to do amazing and I'm going to let her lead the way in some ways with this is who she is. You're also there to catch her when there are the fails, to say you're still loved on your worst day. And that's been so important. For one of my daughters goes to the 3 space a lot. And I'm like, you're loved. It's okay. You do not have to be neurotic about that college class and stay up all night. Like, it's okay to get a B or a C even. Like, you are allowed to sleep. You're allowed to be human. And they just need to hear that sometimes, even if we're privately hoping they do well in school and etc.
For sure.
You know, it's like so beautiful that you're already seeing how you want her to know she's loved underneath it all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I make sure I tell both my kids, like, what can make me stop loving you? And they're like, nothing. I'm like, that's right. Nothing. And so just finding out recently that she was a 3, I'm like, okay, I'm really glad I do that. And she knows that she literally can't do anything to make that go away. That will be a constant in her life. So I'm hoping it'll carry through and help her become a really healthy 3 in her later years, because she is a very emotional child. And so that thing about her potentially having a hard time articulating her, soft side could be challenging. But I'm hoping with this early start of, building her emotional intelligence and speaking out what it is that she's feeling is going to help her in the long run.
You're wise. This is beautiful. And she's ready. Some are not, but a 3 often is ready to learn some of these from a very young age. And you're getting a really nice sense of who she is. And you're like, I'm leaving room for development, but like, this is who she is right now. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So let's dive into 4s.
Oh, our 4s are so precious. They are softening my voice already because they're deep people. They want to go to those depths. I mentioned the therapist friend of mine. She is able to sit in hard spaces with people, which is what makes her an amazing therapist. And that is how 4s are, even if they're not actual therapists, because their core motivation is to find themselves and their significance. And they're so all about authenticity that they also draw that out in others too. And they make others feel that they can be themselves, whoever they are in any given day or moment, and that they're not going to run away if they have a deep feeling. And their core fear would be having no identity, significance, not being special and unique enough. So they often will go against the grain. One of my 4 daughters gets really the ick when she sees somebody wearing her outfit. And my other daughter, who's more in that stylish 3 place, is like, stop, like, wear something cute and don't be mad about it. And she's like, I can't help it. I have to be different. Like, I know I'm a 4 and I know I do this. But that's a small way 4s can do that. When they're in stress, they can become more clingy, people pleasing, or perfectionistic. And then when they're healthy, they can become more doing oriented and moral instead of just in that kind of the barrel melancholic woe is me victimized mentality. So you see a lot of 4s who end up with addictions if they're not also in their 1 quite a bit. And that's a shorthand language for Enneagram, but like basically, remember how I talked about how 1s are these perfectionists. When 4s kind of pick up a bit of, we need to learn from the other types. When they pick up the pace and say, okay, I've had my thinking hour for today, I need to get into doing. It's phenomenal. It's gorgeous. My daughter's now a senior in college, and all these professors are willing to work with her on her senior thesis. She's applying for grad schools, and she's only 19 doing it, but we've come to learn, and this is something anyone who's resonating as a four needs to know. We have rushed her a bit because we thought she was like us. All the rest of us are faster paced, and they need their time to do things with excellence. And she's also been a professional dancer. Both my girls have, and they still dance at Sarasota Contemporary Dance now as adults. And she's always being asked to actually be part of our company. And she's like, I can't, because I don't have the time, because I'm a four. I need my thinking time. And fours also need time to do everything slowly and with care. So it's interesting to see. And she can take 1 or 2 dance classes a week now. She also teaches dance class to littles once a week. But like, she could never hold a full-time job and do full-time school. Whereas I'm just going to give some of our moms listening who are threes this example, and other types we'll talk about. But like, threes could do all of it, be part of a dance company, go to work, go to school full time. We have a 3 friend of hers who's doing that. We're not critiquing either one. They're just different personalities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So 5s. I love this one. My husband's a 5.
Oh, this is so fun. I love that your hubby's a 5. You can tell us stuff about this too, but also quickly then. So the motivation of 5s is to be capable, understanding everything in life they can. They want the knowledge. They want it all. They want to learn, because their fear is, what if I'm not competent? What if I'm useless, helpless, overwhelmed? And when people are over the top, they feel like, oh my gosh, this is too much. Get out of my space. I need my space to be safe. So they can become a bit scattered and impulsive if they feel threatened. They can also become more confident and decisive when they feel that space, and they can get more synergistic with people and they're very caring, which you would know more than me, even just being married to one, that people don't always know they're so caring, but from this observant, kind of pulled back, introverted way a lot of the time in relationships. Is that your experience?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think because I've always known him to be a nurturing person, maybe just because of our dynamic,
Yeah.
but I know that on the outside, it could look like he's standoffish because he's not as social as me. And he's just very like, I just have my few friends and I'm good with that. I don't really need any more. My life is so full. I don't need to complicate it. Yeah. But he really does love to make our home a home. So like anything that could make it more comfortable, he's all about that. And he's always like reading to research stuff, and so he's always sharing random things with me, and he's very logical, and when in stress can overanalyze way too much.
Yeah, you cannot emphasize that enough. Yes,
way too much.
5s, right? The amount of brilliance they have is hard to contain.
One of the smartest people I've ever met.
I bet. I mean, that's just beautiful. And then, like you said, you have to temper that, because you're like, we can't do this all day, that we could dig around. Some of our hypotheses won't be right. And so that's also helpful to have you grounding him in action, because 5s can be doing inhibited. And there's so many more pieces, like you said, from my book and elsewhere about the Enneagram that just could give us a whole, 5 hours on each type plus. But really, just this quick grab is so nice for us to hear together with you. 5s are deeply caring. They just want to do it well, and they want to do it logically, and they don't want to waste resources, right?
No, he's all about doing things thoroughly. And I've had this is like an ongoing thing. I'm like, okay, that thing, it doesn't matter if you do thoroughly. This thing, you can. Like, that matters more, because when you do that thoroughly, that means we can't do these other things. And so I have to kind of put things in perspective for him. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. I am doing this thoroughly for just my own personal satisfaction, but I also would like to get these things done. Okay, perfect. So it's like those, have you seen those reels where it's like, you have a party that you're planning, it's the day of, the woman is like doing all the things inside the house to get it ready. You're tidying, you're bringing out the paper plates and whatever. And then the husband is like working in the garage. It's like, nobody's gonna see that. Right? That's my husband. That
is awesome.
So I have to redirect him and be like, okay, let's talk game plan here.
Yeah.
I think these things need to be taken care of first. If you have extra time, then go do that. But like, let's talk about what's going to have the biggest impact.
Yes. And he's like, but you don't understand if the generator or whatever, like there's so many nitty gritty things.
Yes. And I've had to learn to like still express gratitude. Like, I love that you're doing that for us. And I know that there is a good reason you're doing this right now. These are the priorities.
Right. It's like you can help bring him into that space of like, this is like, I'm really, and twos are, I'm saying it from your perspective, like twos are very good at like hosting generally and knowing how to read the room on what's going to be needed as a heart type. Because twos, threes, and fours, we didn't say it, but are all very heart oriented types. Whereas that first one, type 1, was more instinct based. I've got to do the right thing. And fives get us into the thinking space. And so I love that you bring him into the feels a little bit, like I can feel this out and thank you. But you named something before we move on to 6 that we need to know about fives. And that's that they do need those words of affirmation with them struggling with competency, as long as they're actually tailored to them and not just blowing smoke up. They love that word. So I love that you give that to him. That's beautiful.
Well, it was a learning process. Before I would just get really pissed and get resentful. Like, don't you see I'm doing all these things and you're spending time doing that? How does that make sense? But then I was like, oh, that comes off as like, how could you be so stupid? And I'm like, oh, that's not my intention.
Not what I meant at all. Yeah. Whoops.
But also, can you do these other things?
Exactly. You're like, oh yeah, I need to. Yeah. Oh, I love that you learned so much with him.
Yeah. It's good now. Now that I'm on the other side of like, okay, this is way better now that we're aware of how we are. Let's dive into 6s. The 6s are, am I thinking about it correctly? Oh no, maybe I'm thinking of the 7s. What's the 6 again?
The 6 is somebody we think of as the loyalist, the skeptic, sometimes the devil's advocate. They're very adventurous, but they, like 2s, are befrienders. But different from 2s is, instead of being heart types, they're very much in their thinking and fear base. Now, doesn't mean 2s don't get afraid, but 6s think on worry and security types of things a lot more usually. And 2s are more about like, because sometimes people do get those 2 types confused. They just think, okay, I want to nurture the relationship. I want to feel everything. And they will even put safety behind. Whereas 6s are like, our mutual safety is everything to me. And I will plan and have backup plans to my backup plans. And I will be that person on the airplane with the big purse where I've got your back, or I'm the firefighter personality. Like, I will protect, hold courage for you. I've got us. But they can also be neurotic about their planning.
Yes.
And that's because, of course, we can imagine their core need is for security and support. Let's all be realistic. Sometimes we didn't get these things in childhood, and these are the result of attachment wounds and needs. So the fear is going to be that they are looking at, oh my gosh, life without support or guidance could be terrible. So many of our 6s look to others and even their spouse for advice. Some of them are attached to their parents still, and their spouse is like, come on, or their community group. But you're getting the sense that they get very attached to authority sometimes, or occasionally it's their own authority and, kind of coming out with fear, with guns blazing. And so we just want to assert that our 6s are so deeply loyal to their principles and to their people. But one of their places for growth, of course, in their relationship is just trust. I did it well. I planned as well as I could. I just need to take a pause, be thoughtful, not neurotic. I don't need to negatively chain about anything or everything. They can get very OCD. A couple of my kids have a line to 6 in the Enneagram when you kind of, like I said, get a little deeper, and they know it. And they're like, Mom, I'm getting my obsessive thinking going on again. And we just work through therapeutic techniques for that. And they've been able to work on that as just regular, not doing it with therapy yet. And I always tell them, you might need that sometimes if you have a 6 space that gets out of hand. A lot of the 6s I know have needed medication sometimes, and all the types, right, in different ways. But this is a type just a little more prone to GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, these kinds of things. And yet, like we said, oddly enough, we've all seen this too with 6s, the most courageous of all when the going gets tough. They're the ones that are going to be the Tim Ferriss out there climbing the biggest mountain, but they've got all their security plans in place. So they make amazing spouses if they can just let go of the reins a little, take a deep breath, trust a little bit more. Does that make sense?
It does. And as you were describing that, so there's a thing called wings in
Mm-hmm.
Enneagram, and knowing my husband's a 5, now I'm like, oh, I wonder if he's a 5 wing 4 or 5 wing 6, because he's got elements of both in him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He does, like, I call him Captain Safety. He's got
Oh,
like this
yeah.
elaborate like medical kit in every single car, organized by medication and band-aid sizes and all these things. And he's always thinking about safety anytime we're going to go somewhere, like, oh, are the tires at the right air pressure? Are we going to, like, what is it that we need? And I'm like, oh, this is nice to not have to think about this. But
Yeah.
also it's
Mhm.
like, oh, this is a little extra, Stephen. Like, we really don't need to do this. But then
Yeah.
he also loves to do research. So it's like, I wonder
Mhm.
which one you are.
Yeah, and I heard a little of the 4 also when you named how he wants the home to be, well, it could be the 6 also, if 6s love their comforts, but like
Yes.
I love how he's a 5 with both the 4 wing and the 6 wing in that
Mm-hmm.
way that 4s, you remember me saying my type 4 daughter, her style is diverse, but it's also beautiful, and
Mm-hmm.
people take their cues from 4s about style. That's all the fashion
Okay,
gurus
that's
are
not my
4s.
husband.
Okay, that helps us to know, because I was gonna
um,
say if he's got a good style component at home,
no,
you
no,
know,
no. For him, he does not care about outer appearance at all.
okay, I would more
He's
lean
very
5
much
then.
like I'm down to be a lone wolf and like just do what I want to do. He's very much like an individualist in that sense. Like, he's
Okay,
okay to wear the
yeah.
same kind of shirt, same kind of shorts every single day.
That
So no,
more
he doesn't
speaks for
have
the
that
5.
expression.
He wouldn't care if he was like, "I'm not in my unique outfit today." Yeah.
No, no, not at all. For me, I'm like, you
Um,
could be a little more unique, you know?
You're right. Well, like I said, I love the arrow systems of the Enneagram, the deeper dives through the minds. And basically, your type has a very strong relationship to 4, as you may know. So
Yeah.
that's why, is when 2s are healthy, they also take on those really creative traits, which is why a lot of my 2 friends, when they're stressed, they're like, I'm moving furniture again. And it's just so funny.
I love
I
that.
I do too. I love our 2s and our 4s, and we just named our 5s and 6s. And so, really,
Seven's
yeah,
fun.
really fun to go through 7s also, because this is the personality known for being sunshine and fun. And this is the encourager personality. This is the personality that wants to be chipper, get people out of bed in a great mood. This is my personality, if you can't tell. Doesn't mean we don't have our down buttons and we're just tired and we're flopping down exhausted, which is what happens to a 7 when we feel like we can finally relax, or when we've overdone. Because, of course, you're hearing me say we love to be up. So the main motivation is let's avoid pain at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that. But that is the motivation, is this feeling of, if I'm in emotional pain, I'll die. And we each have our own story about why we're that way. But the fear that comes in is, of course, then being trapped in pain, deprived. One time my husband cornered me, and I talked about this on an Enneagram podcast. He didn't mean to. He was just very logically making an argument. And I was like, I feel trapped. And he was like, I'm not trapping you. And I was just like, getting like I was in a tight elevator is how it felt. And so that's your 7s out there, and they need that freedom, but they also need to do their work. So it really helps 7s when they're allowed the freedom and joy, but then little by little, you really do need to, if you're a 7, give yourself permission to grieve, to experience hard things, to just acknowledge I'm in pain. I'm allowed to ask for help. Kind of picture somebody carrying a lot of plates and not feeling like they can ask anyone for help. And I've come to get a lot better about asking my family for help, like you talked about. But it's come by painstaking have to. Sometimes I remember having an ocular migraine. I never even knew those existed when I was pregnant with my 3rd child, because I was just running so hard, and I'd never taken a nap. I was 33 or 34 years old, and I just had never taken a nap in my life.
What?
Yes, I just was one of those, and my kids are that way too. They go, I don't like naps. They don't make me feel good. And I was like, I just can't sleep at the daytime. And so my body was tired, Michelle, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know it as a 7. I just thought I have to run. And I would like have these blackout headaches. And I told my eye doctor, and she goes, oh, that's an ocular migraine. You're just exhausted. And so sure enough, learning to take a micro nap was like so life-saving. And it was just a beautiful instance of growth in my life. So now I tell my kids who aren't really sevens, but they have a 7 element. I'm like, we all have this parent overlay, right? And I'm just like, guys, take a rest. You're allowed to rest. You
Or
are
your body will
covered.
force you to.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I've learned most of those things through experience. And it was also hard, which we'll talk about next time. But like my husband's a fast paced type too. So when I started to get self care, that really rubbed him the wrong way because he's like, I'm used to you running hard and being
Yeah.
very social. And now I have to be more intentional about my time.
Yes.
So just like that.
Discernment. I feel like all types can really be benefited by discernment.
Yes, me too. And our
Yeah.
spouses will be blessed by letting us be who we're meant to be too at healthy points. Just takes a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about 8s.
Okay, love it. Our 8s are very strong. There are a lot of 8 women. I know, ladies, that you might have been told that it's not good to be strong in a woman, but we need strong women more than ever. So I love my 8 girlies. I see some of my daughter's college friends becoming 8 women. It is a beautiful thing. These are our challengers, our protectors. Their core motivation is to be self-reliant, to be in control. The fear is being out of control or vulnerable because they've probably had that at a time where it was a horrible experience. And so when they're stressed, they can get more secretive, withdrawn. When they're healthy, they can become more like a 2, quite honestly, just very helpful and wanting to help that underdog. And in relationships, it's really beautiful when they can bring the strength in and support their spouse with it. And we'll talk more about that next time, but just keep in mind, if you're an 8, it could be that you're also, like we said with 7s, doing a lot of overdoing. There's also a sense of rightness and justice because we've just left the thinking types. 5, 6s, and 7s really stressed how much we're thinking and planning and just making sure we're either having fun or security. But now we're back to these last 2 types are going to be like that one, an instinct driven, gut instinct. Like, I know this is the right thing to do. I've got to press on. I've got to save that person. But what's so helpful for 8s to know is, like, even though you are strong and you're probably that Marvel superhero archetype, you also need to slow down. And often 8s will say, I feel like my family, it's not just like 7, like I have to be happy. It's like I have to lead constantly in a very serious way. So with the 8, it's like I have to be over the family. And then they find out later, my family never knew me because I was too busy being a drill sergeant. So coming in with your 2 kind of type 2 softness that I said you have is such a great place for 8 moms to really thrive because they need that so much, that softness with the strength.
And the beautiful thing about that is that my co-parent turned best friend, she's an 8. So we complement each other really well. Like, we learn a lot from each other because I think in my health, I go to an 8, right?
Yeah.
Like, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you do. Well, it's your stress point, but when you're really healthy, you can hit 4 and 8 in health.
Yes, there it is. So, oh yeah, that is right. Because when I'm stressed, I do get a little like critical, like in an unhealthy way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely, like, I feel like I soften her. And then she also, like, because she has such strong conviction, it kind of helps me feel like, oh, I can speak up more. I can speak bolder. I can be more convicted in my thoughts and feelings. And it's really cool. And like, I've inspired her with boundaries because I have grown so much with advocating for myself, where she'll find herself saying, like, when you did that, I was like, yes, I want to be able to do that too. And I'm like, that is so cool.
Gosh, that's beautiful. I love that you have helped
Yeah.
each other. She helped you with the 8 that you needed. And then, because 8s can be very good with boundaries when they're healthy. And she was at a time. But then when you she was like, wait a second, like, I need to remember myself. And you helped her find that 8 again. Like, you're allowed to have boundaries because 8s really, when they're healthy, can do good boundaries. But when they're not, like we said, they kind of could go to that unhealthy too. Yeah. So you two are very symbiotic in your types, which makes sense on why you get along so well.
Yeah. Okay, so 9 is actually her husband. So let's talk about
Oh.
nines.
Okay, so the 9 is, we know, the peacemaker. 8 and 9 is a very common pairing. You can let her know for a reason. They're great together because the 8, well, we'll talk about that next time, actually. We'll put
Yes.
a pin on that. But they're a
Yep.
very common pairing for good reason. And the 8 and the 9, are both body types, like I said, this gut instinct type. So they also feel a gut instinct about what's right, but they want to be peaceful with it. So it's all about maintaining inner and outer peace, even though they do have some right action feelings about life and like how things should be done. And they do like to grumble and complain, as I'm sure your friend knows. My 9 daughter loves to complain, and she says it to me. She goes, Mom, I'm going to take this class and I'm going to complain about the injustices. It's like, oh my gosh, so this is a life thing. And she's like, yes. But when they're healthy, they also understand that they can speak up and do that a little bit. Whereas if they're not as healthy, they're like, oh, I'm not going to say anything. No one's listening. It's not worth it. I don't even have a voice that matters. And that is such a hard thing for any of us with our 9s, because guess what? They do usually have a gut instinct on what's right. So when they speak up, it's a beautiful thing because they are very thoughtful. And if you are a 9, you know they're called the peacemaker, the mediator. So here they are in the world with all these thoughtful gifts of listening. And if they don't share what they've concluded after hearing everybody else, then we're missing out on this person who could help us all. So I love that we have our 9s to do that. And just please keep using your voice if you're a 9,
Mm-hmm.
because here's the craziest part. Because you're so peaceful, people will sleep to you when you start talking. They're like, oh, you comfort me. You put me to sleep. Your touch is magic. Great stuff, but they want to be heard too. So you have to
Yes.
pinch yourself, wake up, put some water on yourself, hear your 9, listen to them, or they will shut down. And for you 9s,
Yeah.
don't shut down. I always tell my 9s, repeat yourself, get back up again. You can rest if you're discouraged, because it is discouraging to, like, I can't tell you how many times even my daughter's scores will be lost at colleges. It's like, it's laughable at this point. Like, oh, your blood test was gone, or whatever it is, like doctor's office, anywhere. Your teacher forgot your letter, that everyone was supposed to get a letter in the class. Like, it's been going on for years, but knowing it and seeing the pattern, we're like, it isn't because 9s are bad. In fact, it's because they're so peaceful and trusted that people are just like, oh. So just know that you're loved, and just know that you need to keep using your voice, because your voice is so powerful and beautiful. So those are our 9 types.
Amazing. Yeah. So, like, if you are just first learning about the Enneagram now, re-listen to this over and over again, figure out what you most resonate with, because again, you might have like characteristics of all 9, but really look into, what are you motivated by? What are you
Yeah.
afraid of? Really question, like, oh yeah, that one action, or why did I do that? Oh, it was because I wanted to be seen, or it was because
Mm.
I felt like I needed to protect myself, or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
that will help you get to the heart of what your number is. But again, with any personality test, do not let it define you. This is only meant
Right.
to help you, to
Yes.
enrich your experience of personal development, to get to know yourself, so that you can then hold more compassion and love for yourself, and thereby have enough to give to other people. Because I think the more we know about ourselves, the more we can accept others, because we're not worried about protecting ourselves, defending ourselves, or whatever it is, because we just know who we are, we accept ourselves, we love ourselves, and we can extend that out into our circle of people that we love so much. So, Christa, thank you so much for coming onto this show. Can you please share with us where people can connect with you? Share with us your book that you have out, and how people can work with you.
Thank you, Michelle. You're awesome at what you do. It is captivating just to listen. And so I know you're a great helper out there. And I want to say that if you guys want more Enneagram info, everything I have is at enneagramandmarriage.com, or you can find me on Instagram or my podcast by the same name, Enneagram and Marriage. And I have so many tips for all of us in all those spots, because I need them too sometimes. So we just have so many resources for you, including the book at enneagramandmarriage.com.
I love it. I love it. And if you haven't seen the book, don't mind my tissue bookmark, but that's what I have. This is what the book looks like. It's gorgeous and it's a great read. I haven't finished it yet, but from what I have read so far, it's a very easy read. I was just telling Christa before we hit record how it's so nice that even though I kind of like through experience know these things about myself, it's nice to always read something and have someone else articulate exactly what I know to be true in my body or in my experiences, but be like, oh, that's right. I do that for a reason. And so if you love becoming more self-aware, which I hope you can grow to love if you're not there already, pick up this book, see if it resonates with you and start noticing like, I wonder how I can apply this to my personal life, how I can apply this to my kids and my partner, and share language so that you can understand like, oh, they're not trying to be mean. They're not trying to be manipulative or a nuisance. This is at their core who they are. So you know how to nurture and foster the relationship to really see the individual as an individual rather than why aren't they more like me? Which I feel like we all kind of grew up, right? Like our parents kind of like tried to make us into the same version as them, but we're all individuals. And the more we can acknowledge and accept that, I feel like the easier the relationship can be.
Yeah, so well said. It's seriously true that we wouldn't want to be married. There'd be no synergy between two if we were exactly the same. So this is a courageous undertaking to get to know you and your partner. And at the back of the book, I even have a bit of a cheat sheet section where we go through every partnership type so that you can be like, oh, a 2 with a 5. What is that like? So, oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Yes, I loved this. And I wish we could continue talking, but I'm so excited for our next episode. So listeners, if you have resonated with what we've shared here, please go connect with Christa. Let her know what you loved most about this episode, and selfishly let me know too, because I love hearing from you guys. And if you know someone that could benefit from listening to this episode, please share this with them. Better yet, share this in your Instagram stories and tag us so we can give you a shout out. And if you have loved this show, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen. That would make my day and really like just make me so excited. And stay tuned for part 2 of this series where we tackle Enneagram and marriage. All right, that's all I have for you today. I will see you back here on the next episode. Bye. That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perta Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.